So another week, another update for my fish stuff. So I got my 20 long set up for this guy. I'm thinking I will actually move him in today. And of course right here is the set 20 long. It's been sitting now for about 4 days or so. The buttercups that are in here have all beneficial bacteria, so technically I could have added him in to the day I actually set this tank up. But I wanted this tank to sit for a few days before I put him in here, and I'm pretty sure today I'm going to do that. But I want to give an update on a few other fish before I do that. Because I did manage to do a few things last week or whatever, or Friday or whatever. So today I did a small water change, or actually a 50% water change, because Blake and Son have been acting up a little bit. The fry themselves have been doing just fine. It's just that Blake and Son, as you can tell, if Blake here, her top fins are a little weighted down, so I'm thinking she's a little sick. But at the very least, she is very egg-laden. As you can tell, she's very, very fat. So I don't know if the eggs are going to reabsorb or if she's going to force herself to lay them. I don't know yet, because there is, again, fry in this tank. They're being good parents and they're not spawning again. So I think these guys know what they're doing to an extent. And of course this tank's doing just fine. The two little randoms are doing great. Of course old White Knight's here. Everyone else is just doing what they do best. And of course I'm still learning how to manually focus this camera, so it's going to be a while for me to figure out properly when everything's in focus. But I think right now it's in focus. Then again, I do need to see if I can find a lens that does automatic focusing whenever I record videos. I'm pretty sure they make something like that, but I gotta go to a forum or two and ask. Here's another thing I did. I got this female on Friday. The tank itself has actually been sitting for about a week now. This is a female. Hold on. This is a female. I can't think. Female elephant ear. I got this one off Petco. I had the option of koi or elephant ear, and I went for elephant ear. I was originally going to try and get one of those cheap ones that are like $3, but they didn't have any, so I had to go for the slightly pricier ones. And again, I did have the money for it anyway, so I went for it. And she's been in here for about 4 days or so, give or take. And she seems to be doing just fine. And of course I can't focus any farther than that. I do have how far I can zoom in with this lens. But yeah, she's doing just fine. I'm not going to try breeding yet with high-tech or try breeding bettas yet, because I do still need to do a little bit more research. And I want her to get a little bit bigger too. But of course high-tech's doing just fine in his tank, and the 3 little randoms, they're doing just fine too. And of course when I do breed, or when I do try breeding bettas for the first time, I'm going to remove the 3 little randoms. I did actually come home with 3 fish. The female elephant here was one of them. My father bought himself, technically me, but it's really him, bought a catfish. I'm going to show it in a second. And I bought myself a very beautiful veil-tail koi, or whatever we call these hats. I forget what, marble? Yeah, it was a veil-tail marble pearl angelfish. It was a beautiful angelfish. It survived for 3 days, and I woke up this morning, it was doing just fine. I fed the tank like I normally do every morning, and then after a while I came out of my room and I saw it dead on the papa's plant leaf. So I have no idea what killed it. The only thing I could think of is that it choked, which really sucks because it was a beautiful veil. And I think it's going to be pretty difficult to find another one like that again. But yeah, it really sucks. I'm going to call up Worlds Underwater and see if we can figure something out, because I want to get myself another beautiful veil. Because I have 3 and I want to try some spawning with some veils. And the catfish I got, that's technically my dad's, even though he says it's mine, is this little guy right here. Give me a second. It hangs out by underneath the filter all day, so we're thinking of moving it to a different tank. I'm thinking of moving it to the 10-gallon tank that houses the fry, but I don't know if it'll be. I don't know if it'll be too small for the type of catfish that is. Then again, I did have one just like that in a 5-gallon when I was younger, and it was actually fairly bigger. So I don't know, but we're gonna hold off a few days and see what happens. If it doesn't move, I'm definitely gonna move it to a 10-gallon and see what happens. But I'm pretty sure a 10 gallon's too small for it. Alright, hopefully I can focus. There we go. I'm trying to give a general idea of how big these ones have gotten since last time. As you can tell, they're pretty big. They're about the size I can actually give to worlds underwater, and they can actually sell them. And unfortunately I'm gonna have to, because this 10-gallon tank is pretty freaking small for them. And if I wanted to grow them out for a little bit more longer, I need a bigger tank. And unfortunately I don't see that happening, because there's no dollar per gallon sale, and right now we don't have the money to buy $100+ worth of fish tank crap just to get me another tank up and running. At the very least, it's going. Yeah, to get a 40-gallon tank on sale, a stand, and a lid, that's going to be at least $100. And that's excluding the fact that I'll need to buy LEDs, foam board, and a heater. So to get a 40-gallon setup and running, which is a 40 breeder, that's going to cost at least $100 to $200 on the cheapy end for me. So yeah. But they are doing just fine, so I'm not too worried about the size. I will be plucking all the big ones out, and I'll be leaving the smaller ones like this one alone to let them grow out more, because I do need to move the current fry that are in the 10-gallon with Blake and Son into this tank, and the stupid freaking noisy clock is going right now. Also, it's incredibly windy outside, so if you're hearing any noises that are not me moving the lenses, and you're hearing like house creak and whatnot, this is why. So I'm going to now get my little Flowerhorn set up to be moved to his tank, and I'll come back. There are times when I don't know what's worse: Patty constantly making a racket for water, or this thing constantly making a racket outside my window wanting me to love it. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is drain some water from this tank, that way so he doesn't make a complete mess when I try to catch him out of the water, because he will jump. And I'm going to do the same thing to the tank he's going into, that way so I can have enough room so I can actually have something to, that way so when I place the container in there for him to acclimate in, the tank won't overflow. And now he's acclimating in his new home. He is a jumper and likes to splash around. He's got me wet a few times. He kind of got my table wet, so he's a jerk. So I have the glass lid here, more or less stopping him from jumping out. The only real thing I'm worried about is ick. Since this tank isn't as warm as his original tank, I don't know if he'll contract ick again or not. If he does, I'm absolutely going to have to get myself a 100-watt heater. But I'm hoping that this tank will be warm enough for him, but I'll just have to wait and see. But he's going to stay in here for about, I'm going to give him about an hour or so, maybe a little more. Considering the tank he's originally from was a fairly high temp tank, around like 82. And this one's around like 70 something, like 79 I think, or whatever these non-adjustable heaters are set to. I think they're like set to 78. So yeah, I'm going to let him sit for a while and put him and see what happens. And then I'm going to let him loose. Though I'm thinking at the very least, I could probably stick the little 25-watt heater in there, stick it next to the, I don't know, stick it somewhere, and then just and just jack the heat all the way up and hope that can somehow raise the temp in the tank. But again, that's only 25 watt heater, so I don't expect much. But with that said, I'm going to refill this tank. I'm going to let everything sit. I'm going to pull everything out excluding the heaters. I'm going to pull the filters. I'm going to pull off the fake plants, pull that out and pull out the little hide he used to hide in, because I'm going to do a mass tank clean, gravel vac and everything, because I'm going to make this tank ready for my veil-tail angelfish, because I want to see if I'll get anyone that will actually, I want to see if they'll group up and actually see if I get a spawner, or actually get something that'll spawn and whatnot. Because again, I do want to try breeding veil tails too. Alright, here's hoping this is properly focused. So I'm thinking it's about time to release him, since he's been sitting for a while in here. Hopefully he doesn't try to jump out. Now use this thing to fill the rest of this tank up and fill the other 10 gallon up. He's already doing a mini freak out, which is normal, so I'll just put the lid on here just in case. Then again, I was going to do this anyways, but whatever. There we go. Now, of course, there is no light on here because the battery that was running the LED light just decided to die. And these LEDs require a lot of power to run. So running them off a lithium battery really isn't a sustainable way to light this tank. So I just need to get some old wires to get some old LEDs from off Amazon that run off 12 volts. I already got multiple 12 volt transformers just laying around my room, so I'll just be able to do that. But he seems to be he seems to be more or less doing just fine. For now, at least. I mean, he's just been in the tank for what, like less than a minute. Well, he's currently freaking out, having no idea what's going on. And whatever it is, I forget how I can't speak at times. He doesn't know what to do with himself. But this is one of the good times where I can actually show you what he looks like, since he's actually staying still for once. As you can tell, he's a pretty nice looking Flowerhorn, though he's incredibly stressed. So a lot of his color is just all hidden away due to most of his body being all black. But hopefully he'll stop being so stressed after a while and get used to his new tank. Speaking of which, I did reattach the lighting system, though I put it back together the way it was to an extent. This is that little crummy Bell and Howell LEDs multi-light thing that you see on TV every now and then. I just basically have it so I can either run it off the actual original power supply, or I can have it running off a battery. The reason why I have it set off mostly to run off a battery is because it's significantly brighter when it's actually running off an actual battery itself. Like like one of these little lithium cells right here. This is the 1-cell lithium battery. This little thing gets that LED thing very bright. But for right now, I'm just gonna hook it up like this. Though what I'm thinking of doing is that if I make this permanent, which I'm not planning on doing, but I'm probably gonna end up ripping out the batteries and a little motherboard in here, and shrinking this ugly contraption down to like a small little plug and play box, to where I'll just have one plug to charge the batteries, and I'll just have another plug to plug the light into if I need and whatnot. But for right now, he does have lights, but he is freaking out. And I think that's more or less about it for now. And of course my big guy, he's still big Flowerhorn. I'll come back down the road or whatever. Or I don't know when I'll come back. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to add that I more or less pulled all the fake plants and whatnot out of this tank. I'm just letting this tank sit now and settle before I do a gravel vac before I put in the angelfish in here. Alright, so I'm in the process of getting this tank more or less ready to go for the new fish I'm going to put in here. I got 5 gallons siphoned out. I'm going to do some gravel movement, clean the glass, and then I'm going to let the tank sit again for about maybe 30 minutes or so. Do another small gravel vac, probably only about to here, just enough to get rid, just enough to get rid of the remaining crap and whatnot. And also, this tank will have a nice batch of new water for the angelfish I'm going to be putting in here. Alright, so what veil tails am I going to be putting into that tank? Well, I'm going to be putting this veil tail in here, this veil tail, and this one right here. All 3 are going into the tank. I'm pretty sure I don't know which one is a male or female, but I'm pretty sure one of these 2 veils are, I'm pretty sure one of them is male and female, I just don't know which. And I don't know about this one right here. And like I said, I personally want to get a spawn with this one and one of these other ones. Personally, what I really love to have done is I would like to have this one spawn with the beautiful veil that unfortunately passed away on me. But yeah, it really sucks it died, but if I can get some veil tail angelfish right, I'll be real happy. And now I just gotta let these guys acclimate for a little while and then release. As you can tell though, they're pretty freaking big finnage wise. But I'm hoping to get them a 20 tall. Hopefully by then I'll figure out who's a pair and go on from there. Because one of these 2 pair up with each other, preferably this one with one of the other ones, then I'll be good to go. And like I said, hopefully I'll get a 20 long, not 20 long, a 20 tall in the next week or so. Because I know for a fact that a 20 tall will fit just fine on this desk we built. Alright, well, I decided to move the kitty fish. I don't actually have to acclimate it. I can just stick it in there right now, but since I got all these little prying eyes thinking it's food, I'm gonna let the thing sit and let these little guys figure out and let these guys just sit around and whatnot. What I'm actually gonna do is that before I release him, I'm actually gonna let him sit for about maybe 30 minutes in here. I'm gonna put some food in here to keep them occupied as I release the kitty fish, because they may go after it thinking it's food. But yeah, I'm gonna let the kitty fish get less freaked out and let the angelfish figure out what it is before I release. Angelfish are in, but they're incredibly freaked out. We got these 2 hanging out by the sponge filter, and I have one literally face first behind the sponge filter. Oh, this one actually has a knot on its head. It's actually pretty cool. So this one must be a male then. Don't know about this one though. But these 2 pair up, that'll be nice. And of course if they do, I'll end up putting this guy back into 30. But of course if these 2 pair up, I'm absolutely going to get a 20 tall, that way so I can have something to spawn in. I mean, they'll most likely be able to spawn in this 10 gallon, but it wouldn't be optimal by any stretch of the imagination. I'm amazed I can get these two to even spawn in a 10-gallon. Then again, they're not veil tails. So their size is more or less just fine in this tank for spawning purposes and whatnot. Though I would love to give them a more proper tank too. I also released the kitty fish in here without any problems whatsoever. I just put some food on the top in their tank and they just went nuts. They're occupied by the food and I just dropped the angelfish, not angelfish, but the catfish in. Currently right now it's residing in the very back right here. Let's see if I'm focused. There you go. It was actually at the very front of the tank, but now it's at the very back. It's still going to take a little while for it to get used to this tank, but unlike it was in the initial tank, this one was actually more out and about initially. It was actually hanging out towards the front and whatnot with all the little fry and whatnot. So it seems like that angelfish, it seems like moving into this tank was a smart idea because it seems to be a little bit more happier now. But then again, this is a pretty small tank, so I have no idea if I need to move him back to the 29 down the road. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to do some research on the catfish. But for right now, it's staying in the 10-gallon. And if it gets big, it's going to, of course, go into the 20. Or the, not 20, but the 29. Technically 30, but whatever. So my little Flowerhorn's still in a little bit of a mini freak out, but he seems to be handling the tank just fine. It's 10 p.m. now, so it's been a full day for me. I'm about to go to sleep. I'm going to play some YouTube Macross before I go to bed, of course. But, he seems to be doing just fine. Though he doesn't have a light, and that's unfortunately because I accidentally killed the light I was originally using to light that tank. But for right now, he'll do just fine. I mean, I got a glass lid, so he does technically have light, but it's not as good as like my main tank over here or all my other tanks over here and whatnot. But at least he's in his tank, and he seems to be doing just fine. The only thing I'm really worried about is, like I said in the original video, was ick. Because I actually think I said the tank was around 82. I believe the tank he was originally in around, the tank he was originally in was probably like around 85 or something like that. It was basically at the temperature that it couldn't grow and whatever, so I had it set to that. So hopefully he doesn't contract ick. I know I had a female Flowerhorn in one of these type of tanks with the non-adjustable heaters, and that female never caught ick once. It seems to always be the males. I'm hoping this one won't catch it, but if it does, I'm going to I'm going to do something about it. But right now, he seems to be doing just fine, and I think I'm going to call it for this video, since this video is already ungodly long as is, and I'll just in like the next 3 days maybe I'll upload another video showing how everyone's doing and whatnot. So far, everyone seems to be doing just fine.